All right, we're live. Andres, what's up, man?
What's up, dude?
We've
We just
never gone live
lost.
before.
We're never gone live before. We literally just lost, and we figured, all right, we gotta change something up because obviously Ryan Mason is not gonna change his starting lineup, so we gotta do some changes over on our end, right?
Yeah. I'm putting it out to the Twitter world to join us and come commiserate.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, it was clear from the start that one manager had a plan, and one manager absolutely did not have a plan. You know?
Can you blame him though? Can you blame Ryan Mason for
No,
this?
I don't blame him. I don't blame him specifically. I just think. I mean, what was the expectation, right? Like we go into the match where we know what we have to do. You basically have to win out to get any chance of top four. He's going up against, let's be honest. Bielsa's a great tactician. He knows how to manage his sides. He knows how to get the best out of his players. And instead, we had Ryan Mason who seemed like his game plan was just like, all right, Academy buddies, let's go.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There wasn't really a whole lot of we pressed a little bit in the beginning, as you saw. We saw four players up top. They started running around, and that was great. Midfield never had possession. We'll talk about GLC. We'll talk about Ndombele. We could talk about Eric Dyer as a statue, which I tweeted out earlier on the Cardi Free Twitter. I said no need to build Eric Dyer a statue. There's already one on the pitch. There's a lot of elements to this game, but let's start off with the lineup itself. What did you think of the lineup? No major changes, obviously.
Yeah.
From the week before.
Yeah.
Were you happy with it, especially seeing GLC again?
Yeah. So I think overall, the lineup was exactly as we would have expected. Like it's the same lineup that Mason has relied on in the past. And it's worked in the past, so I for him, I understand why try to fix something that's not broken. But I think this is where a little bit of like thinking like Mourinho does a really good job of stifling the opposition, or at least trying to, right? Almost to a detriment because the teams that he typically plays with lack an identity, and even the Spurs players have said this. They always focus on the opposition so much on how to stop them.
Yeah.
They don't really know how to actually overcome them and actually play their own game, right? Whereas I think Mason could have done with a little bit of that thinking with a high pressing side. We saw this against Arsenal, and Leeds are much better at pressing. I'm not quite sure how Gareth Bale makes it into the starting lineup. I do understand that he's had tremendous form, and maybe there's a bit of hindsight, but truly, we've seen Bale struggle against high pressing sides in the past. And then you have someone like Lucas Moura who does have that intensity, who, for all his faults, can play against the high press relatively well. I just wonder if there was, a bit of a missed opportunity there. And then, of course, there's Tanguy Ndombele, who I'm sure we'll talk about more in the future. But just to answer your question, overall, I think Mason did the best with probably what he had. However, one or two people in the starting lineup did raise questions for me.
Yeah, 100%. I think I am not a GLC hater. I put out basically a feeler on Twitter, and I asked GLC, what are your thoughts? And 99 out of 100 comments were mostly negative, and I understand, right? I mean, it wasn't he didn't look great. It wasn't his best match. He seemed to have, he didn't miss a run. He just couldn't execute. Everything seemed to fall a little bit short. Every touch seemed to be a little bit careless. I mean,
I really do think he's just still rusty.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah.
So it's a bummer because I do think I would disagree with, I guess, the most of Twitter fans. I thought Yeah, he had a rusty game for sure, but I do think that he did some good things for sure. It's like his previous games as well, and almost like Dele Alli. Although Dele Alli, for all his rustiness, has been able to impact games a lot more than Gio Lo Celso has, and I do wonder if Tanguy Ndombele brings out the best in Lo Celso, because he all of a sudden Lo Celso understands that it's not just up to him to drive the ball forward. When him and Ndombele and Højbjerg are on the pitch, granted, there's been times that it hasn't worked out in the past, but that was under Mourinho. I would love to see what that midfield dynamic would look like, and if we could actually keep possession of the ball for longer stretches of time, which I know is something that you were hoping to do for this match.
Yeah, and it feels like almost once Lo Celso gets back into the swing of things, the season will be over.
So, yeah, 100%.
Which is basically what's going to happen, right? So, and it's funny, even when Ndombele came on at the end, he didn't really even look like sharp or good or like he almost wanted to be there. And maybe this is just my tinfoil hat, but I don't know if he's holding a grudge. I don't know what's going on in that back room. I don't know really anything. There's no inside information here, but even on that last third goal, the statue, Eric Dyer basically played everybody on side, and it was 2-on-1. And I'm watching Ndombele, and he's the one who's closest to being able to track back and maybe make some kind of impact. And he is casually, Sunday stroll casually, kind of.
So, I mean, that's probably. It's tough to extrapolate a lot of things in football, right?
It just bothered me, but yeah.
No, 100%. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm wondering if that's the reason we haven't seen Ndombele, because he just might not care or cares less, and he's not putting in the work on the training pitch. Because I've been a fan of him ever since he came, and I know a lot of fans are telling him, please, Ryan Mason, play Tanguy Ndombele, right? But we don't know what he trains like. And to be completely honest with you, John, I missed the last 15 minutes of the match, so I didn't get to see him play. But if that's the case, if he was lackadaisical in those brief 15 minutes, then as Ryan Mason, you would say, well, why should I play him? Just because he has the talent doesn't mean that he's putting in the work in order to exhibit that talent on a consistent basis in the Premier League, right? So maybe that's the answer that everyone is looking for. Why is Ryan Mason not playing Tanguy? Well, it's because Tanguy is not putting in the work, and we've seen that in the past from him, right? Prior to Mourinho.
Yeah, for sure. It seems that there's always some kind of misunderstanding with the new manager and Tanguy. So who knows? I mean, maybe this is just a blip on the radar, and he gets back into the good graces. But we do know towards the end he was a fan of Mourinho. I think even and that clearly shows. There are obvious clear winners and losers with Mourinho out, Mason in, right? Obviously we see we haven't seen Rodon in a long time. Tanguy hasn't been starting. You haven't seen Lucas start matches as much anymore. The winners of the Ryan Mason managerial experiment has clearly been, well, let's start off with Dele first, I guess. Who really took one match to get back into form, more or less.
It's so great to see, man. Right? It really is. I love Dele. I got him on the back right now.
I was going to say, I see you. The irony is you're also wearing like the 16-17, best Dele form year.
Dude, he was unbelievable. I am so glad that he is, if we're talking about positives, for the rest of the season, watching Dele play, it wasn't by far was not his best game against Leeds. It wasn't anyone's best game, but I feel like that's why people compare it to Gio Lo Celso right now, because Dele was not playing at all. I think he had 2 starts prior to Ryan Mason in the Premier League. Comes in and is just, looks rusty, has some misplaced passes, but overall impacts games extremely positively, right? Whereas Gio Lo Celso is not quite there, but again, they're humans. It's bound to happen, right? It's not like a one-to-one, but I would understand why people looking at Dele Alli would be frustrated with Lo Celso.
Yeah, 100%. And you could probably argue that this was Delhi's best match in 18 months in the Premier League, right? Unless you want to talk about an outside of the Premier League, FA Cup against a third-tier team. I mean, there weren't a lot of Delhi opportunities. This just happened to be one of them. He looked really good. He opened up space. I was really surprised he came off in the 65th minute. I really was. And I understood the taking Bale off. I mean, he could always make magic out of anything, really. So can Delhi. So to have these two spark plugs, or at least one spark plug and one older, spark plug, come off with 30 minutes to play, why? Or I just didn't.
It's about like that. And I'm sorry, John. I feel like I'm cutting you off a lot.
No,
so I apologize. But you hear people talk about the X factor, right? Gareth Bale, Harry Kane, Son, and Dele all have an X factor to them, as in they can play like pretty tough and like not get a lot of touches. And in the 85th minute, they can pull a worldie, right, and put it in the back of the net.
Yeah.
What you're describing is essentially taking off two of those X factors and putting in Lucas and Lamela. Lamela, who I honestly, and we've made a video about this, I genuinely do love Coco, but he does not have that X factor. Pulling off one Rabona every 2 years is not an X factor.
Oh, you missed.
Right?
You missed towards the end of the match the Rabona that he tried to pull as a pass.
Jesus. Okay.
I don't know if you saw that, but I think you missed that.
I did not. Okay, all right. So maybe I'm speaking too quick, but the point stands that Dele and Bale have more of an X factor than Lucas and Lamela. And my question to you, John, is why not take Lo Celso off? Because clearly there was a disconnect in the middle of the pitch. And Lo Celso wasn't having the best of his games. Even if it was, honestly, we're going to get killed for this, but what if you bring on Harry Winks there? Well, I know. Whoa.
For a little possession, I get it.
Just for like a tiny little bit of possession. Yeah. Just for someone who's a little bit more tidy in possession, because even if Winks is more negative, he is tidy and he can keep possession, right? So even if you don't trust Tanguy Ndombele, why not throw Winks in there? Because I mean, Lo Celso just didn't have that great of a game, and like anyone can see it. And even Højbjerg was making these runs forward, and I feel like the more forward he gets, the more useless he is. Honestly, I don't think
Højbjerg didn't even have a great match.
I don't think he adds anything to the final third.
No. Well, not even the final third. I mean, even defensively, he was making some pretty pretty glaring errors today. I mean, he had a couple. I wouldn't even call them stops, but interceptions. But for the most part, like if Winks was going to come on, I really, really didn't want it to be for GLC. I almost understood, when it was 1-1 or whatever, or 2-1. I wouldn't have done it 2-1, but maybe when it was 1-1, having like a Winks or Højbjerg, a like for like there, I wouldn't have minded that. But if you would have taken GLC off and it wasn't Ndombele, then I don't understand. And when I saw Lucas come on, I was like, oh, okay, this is really, really forward. He's going to take off GLC. He's going to put in Lucas. We're going to get some more direct style of play. Being able to go at their defenders a little more strongly, a little more directly. And when I saw it was Dele for Lucas and then Lamela for Bale, I understood why. I just really didn't agree with it. And I guess, but that's what you're going to get, right? I mean, that's where we're all part of this now Ryan Mason experiment, and we'll see what that looks like. We'll see that adds up to. But it just against Bielsa, against Leeds, we were unmatched from the beginning, and he never adjusted. And
what did you think of Leeds?
I thought they played really well. I thought we had with a Bishop not in, and I thought we had like a real chance. So I used to watch Patrick Bamford play for NYCFC here in New York, years ago, and I remember there was at one point he was making a decision whether to embrace his American side or to embrace his English side, and I remember all the U.S. fans were like, "Yay, Jack Harrison, come join USMNT," and then and then basically he was Manchester City basically recalled him from NYCFC and then loaned him out to Leeds. And I remember thinking, well, there goes that experiment. But he was always like a good player. In the first half, Jack Harrison was unbelievable. He almost reminded me of a different Jack in the Premier League, Grealish. And in the second half, you could see like his youth start to pop out. He started making poor tackles. He was pulling back on some shots, lifting them well over net. But Jack Harrison was really, really good, really impressive. I thought Bamford, again, continues to be somebody who just, like an unsung hero who just scores goals, like a Danny Ings type, who maybe is never super flashy, but gets the job done. When he ran in on that near post, nobody expected on our line, which is half the problem, but nobody expected him to make that run and get right in front. I don't know if you remember the replay. Toby stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
Dyer stepped back.
Yeah.
And he just slotted right
ran
in the
right
middle.
Across.
Easy put away.
Man, that
chance.
was painful. That was painful to watch.
Both goals in the build-up, I knew it in my gut. It was weird because you can see the breakdown in real time.
Yeah, right.
And even Reguilon didn't have a good match. He wasn't covering like he normally does. I don't think Son tracked back like he normally does either. There was just a lot of room on the flanks for them.
So I do feel like the flanks they did really, really well, creating overlapping and underlapping runs on the left and right side. And that's part of like why, Son is Son. He's always going to be pretty good at tracking back, but he's also just traditionally a winger, of course. Yeah. So you can't expect him to do the work of a left back, right? But Gareth Bale is on a little bit more obviously on the winger side, and it's no surprise that REA got kind of outplayed in a 2v1 down Leeds' left side, down Tottenham's right side.
Yeah.
For I believe it was the first or second goal. I don't remember. But one thing that I noticed throughout the match, John, is the reason that Leeds won, in my opinion, is their fitness, man. Like, they were so good, so good at getting to the ball first.
Yeah.
Really, really good. And I think what Bielsa must have told them was, this Tottenham team, currently has no identity, right? And they've had a rough season. Mentally, they're not all there. If we just want this more, we're going to win. If we play how we typically play, if we maintain our pressing patterns, we are going to win this game, right? And they made it so uncomfortable for Spurs throughout the match that, like you said earlier, we were unable to maintain possession in the midfield. We're really unable to create much of anything. Because you said earlier, didn't let us play our game. And that's because I do think that there's two parts to it. One is, of course, the lead side of it and how they set up. And the other half of it is, I put it in the Cardi Free Slack channel, but essentially there's been a lot of talk about Spurs players saying that they don't train well under Mourinho, that it's the easiest training they've ever done. They don't feel tired, right? And you really got to see that, really the fruits of that labor, I guess, during this match, because they were beaten to so many second balls. And the Leeds were just literally all over them. It was a pretty comfortable win, I think, for Leeds in general. Even when we brought it back, you could tell that Leeds' game plan was working and Spurs' game plan was not.
The only thing I thought that may have pulled us... Look, I thought Bielsa's game plan was executed to perfection. The only thing I thought that may have given us a chance is the quality of our forwards. And I thought, well, maybe we'll have a shot there. But... that they could just overcome the tactics, because tactically we were a mess. You're right. We didn't have any identity. We didn't really have much of a shape. We were kind of like scrambling for second balls, being pulled out of position. They looked very well organized, and they were making very strong runs with purpose. And we weren't about that today, which again, you get it, right? It sadly is what the state that we're in right now. You want to talk about the VAR decision?
Oh God, no! God, it's just ridiculous, man. Like it really does. I'm clearly I'm wrong.
Well,
Hopefully, I guess.
think about it
But
3 years
it
ago.
looked literally the same line. Like when they put the lines and like they do like the whole triangulation or whatever.
Yeah.
It was the exact same line.
But the
So
linesman put his,
I really thought he was on.
I agree with you. The linesman put his flag up. He didn't leave that to VAR. He put his flag up. He didn't let the play run out. Linesman it was called offsides before he even went to VAR, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have had. I think the issue may have been that it needed to be either a lot more clear or B.
Oh, sure. Like okay,
overturn the
yeah,
play.
like to overturn the play. That's right. So it's interesting you mentioned that because then it's 100% on the linesman because now they're trained to hold the flag.
Correct.
They don't. They're
They
supposed
should
to
have held the
not
flag.
put it up immediately.
Right, and it should have went to VAR is what should have happened, right? But since he raised the flag, it was
Good
an
Lord.
offside call that they were looking to decide if the offside was wrong. So I mean,
What
who
a mess.
knows? The other way around, if he would have kept his flag down, right, and he ruled it a goal, and then the flag went up, it could have been 2-2 at that point,
What about the?
or we would
There
have been
was
up 2-1.
there was a second VAR call towards the end of the game, right?
No.
Was it for the goal for Leeds third?
Yeah, for the Leeds goal. But that was Eric Dyer was keeping them onside by too much space. He was hanging out in front of net. So
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So maybe that's the crux of the conversation that we should focus on right now, right? Do you think that Eric Dyer should be at this club next season?
God, I love Eric Dyer. Like my heart as a fan, but but as a fan, I also hate him. I don't know. I've always wanted to root for him too. Like it's just so hard for me. And I have I have a weakness for my Eric Dyers and Harry Winks. But no, I don't think if we're going to be a world class top 4 every year club who competes in the Champions League and lives on this top level. Eric Dyer's not our starting center back. I don't think anybody on our line, except for Reguilon, as he gets better, is on our starting line as for where we should be. I think Toby's good. I think he used to be better.
Oh well, yeah.
Aurier is good. I mean, you're not putting Doherty in there,
Right.
But he's not. And I'm sorry to say it. I mean, he's not Kyle Walker, obviously. I don't know. No, that whole line isn't good enough. And of course, somebody said earlier that Eric Dyer was better as a midfielder, but just lost like his edge or lost his step. And I thought that was ridiculous when I heard it. But then, the more I think about it, maybe there's something to it, because he is probably the most immobile, slow reacting center back in the league, maybe, or at least that's just my perception because I watch this almost week in week out, and I just don't have an answer for what the hell Eric Dyer is doing half the time.
I think it's going to be interesting because I think there's a lot of players at Tottenham right now that will excel and will play well once they move on, and I think we've spoken about Winks. We made a video about him earlier. I think Dyer fits in that category.
Yeah.
Maybe the world hasn't seen the best of Dyer, but Spurs fans have, if that makes sense. Like I think he has hit his peak at Spurs, and it was about maybe even 2 years ago. And we're not going to see that Dyer, I don't think, anymore.
No. 16, 17 Dyer, 15 Dyer.
So for that reason alone, I mean, even Mourinho, who's a big fan of him, and he tried to get him at United.
Yeah.
Even he's trying to get him at Roma for some reason. Even Dyer couldn't really work with him.
There's one answer as to why he plays. The only reason he plays right now or ever is because of his stance in the locker room. Everybody looks to him as kind of like this a leader. He's always rah-rahing. He's trying to get people their heads right, which is ironic because once they get on the pitch, he's the one that seems to lose it first. So, but yeah, I mean, even Mourinho said he saw it in the documentary All or Nothing that Dyer's the player that a lot of people look to, as well as Sissoko. And
Yeah,
then,
right.
So it was important for Mourinho to get Eric Dyer on board. I think Mason maybe took a little bit of that same approach, saying, if I want to win these people over, even though he probably doesn't need to, he relies on Dyer. I didn't see anything wrong with the Sanchez Alderweireld partnership.
I do think that Sanchez. I think that Sanchez should stay. I do think that he has a higher ceiling than Dyer. He's still relatively young, man, and especially for defenders, right?
He's the same age as Reguilon.
Yeah, exactly. So like we haven't seen the best of Sanchez as of yet. I don't think. Let's not be, goldfish memory brained, right? Like Dyer did play well the last 2 games, but it's like these type of performances. It's like a 1 step forward, 2 step back kind of thing, where
kind of like Spurs in a nutshell.
He literally just finds himself in these situations where the goals like kind of fall on his plate, And granted, like that first goal, or is it even that second goal? I forget. But like the one where Reguilon loses it, and then Serge Aurier gets outnumbered on the right flank, and then it comes in, and Patrick Bamford kind of slices in between the defense. Like, should Dyer be doing something more there? He has the field of vision to see Bamford coming, right? Toby Alderweireld does not have that field of vision because Bamford makes a blindside run.
Yeah, he does.
So it's like, all right, I understand that like career and professional trajectories are not always up and to the right, and things happen, and especially at Spurs, the circumstances have been extremely difficult for our players. But once again, much like Serge Aurier, Eric Dyer finds himself in these situations where could he have done better? And I feel like we're constantly talking about this, barring the last 2 matches before Leeds.
Yeah. Again, like you said, it's a microcosm for Spurs in general, right? Every time you think we're getting somewhere, it's 2 or 3 steps back.
What do you think about the rest of the season, man? So I know that we predicted, like a win against Leeds, and we're in good shape, and maybe getting 12 out of the last 15 points, right? That's looking kind of down the drain, right? We have Wolves, Villa, and Leicester City next.
Yep. So I think when we first originally looked at it, and we said if we were being honest with ourselves, 11 points, 12 points is probably where we get. And this was the game that I had us drawing, because I felt like, this would have been our Ryan Mason versus Bielsa. To me, it was it's completely unmatched and lopsided. So unless our players just had their pure talent to overcome the tactics, which I thought may have happened, but. We ended up with a draw, so I kind of figured that would happen. I think we probably end the season on a positive note. I actually don't feel as down as I usually do after a loss. I don't feel good. I just don't feel as down. I think we've been saying this every week for the last, month and a half, 2 months. We are not a Champions League team right now. At all. If we're being honest, I don't think we really deserve.
We're a Europa League conference.
Yeah, we are. I mean, until we start playing better, stepping up, and getting a better quality defense, like we're not a Champions League. Like what Champions League knockout match would you at all think we have a chance against right now? If you're being honest with yourself,
maybe Slavia Praga.
Well,
if they're even in the Champions League.
You would have thought so, but
maybe
that too. So no, I mean, there's no team I would feel comfortable going up against because we're not there. We don't have the confidence. We don't have the tactics. We've got nothing. So I am completely okay being a Europa League team. I think we finished strong. We finished the year strong. We figure out like who are we moving forward with. If playing GLC like for the rest of the year gets him back to his level last year, and he was arguably our best player last year. If we get him back to that level, and that's the price to pay, then in a weird way I'm okay with it as long as we don't drop out of like 7th. But overall, I think we need to finish strong. I think Wolves aren't that great right now. Villa is beatable. I mean, again, I still think we can take 7 points. Is probably my best guess.
Is Jack Grealish injured?
Yes, but not terribly. What's the latest on that?
That's what I was looking at, and I couldn't find anything.
Does anybody who's watching right now know the latest on Jack Grealish injury?
Please update us on Grealish's injury, because Spurs season depends on it.
He's not in full training yet.
All right, cool.
So
then yeah,
won't see him.
I'm gonna call it 9 points, baby. Not three for three.
3 out of 3.
Let's go. Absolutely. So, couple of reasons. So, oh good lord, Nuno has just completely lost the plot at Wolves. I unfortunately have not been able to pay attention to them too much, but they have really fallen off. Something's not working there, and I do wonder if Wolves are going to start. Wolves will definitely have that conversation internally. Do we back him, or do we back the players? What needs to change over the summer? Because right now, Wolves are in 12th place, and they theoretically have the squad to be going up, top half of the table for sure. So, yeah, I think we win against Wolves unless Adama Traore just rips Sergio Reguilon a new one. Aston Villa, Grealish is out. We've played well against them in the past, and they have definitely fallen off as well, given the heights that they were hitting earlier this season. And dude, obviously the toughest game here is Leicester City.
But they've been dropping points though.
They are struggling.
Yeah.
They have had some big injuries. I believe I think it was yesterday against Newcastle. They lost 4-1 or 4-2, and Johnny Evans was injured, and they put in Mark Albrighton in order to fill in. So I don't know. I don't think he played like in the back four, but that just tells you like Johnny Evans is a very big part of Brendan Rodgers' Leicester City puzzle.
Did you watch? Did you happen to catch West Ham?
I did not. No.
So they still continue to look good, and if the reason I'm putting top four like just off the table completely is you would need Chelsea to drop 2 and West Ham to lose like their next 2 as well, and honestly, or even Leicester to not. I just don't see any of those things happening.
Do you think that we even get into Europa though?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I feel like you're right. I feel like we'll finish strong and we'll end up in our Europa League position. I don't see us falling short of that goal. If we do, we're in a lot more trouble.
The only thing that I do think that we'll win out. The only thing that makes me hesitate to predict a Europa League position is that Liverpool haven't played great, but they have 2 games in hand, and their last 3 are West Brom, Burnley, and Crystal Palace. So, granted, one of those, so they have 5 games, right? So Southampton, Man United, and then the last 3 are West Brom, Burnley, and Crystal Palace. The only game that I really see them losing is Man United, and I'm always here for the Burnley upset because Burnley seems to be their Norwich. You know how Norwich was always our bogey team, even though they were always at the bottom of the table or near the bottom. Burnley is that for Liverpool. So that would be phenomenal to watch. And then who knows? Maybe Hodgson has revenge arc when Liverpool face Crystal Palace. But I do think that they'll get enough points to edge us out. And like as you said, West Ham look very good right now. So I think we finish either 7th or 8th, and we miss out on Europa.
You really believe that, huh?
Yeah. And man, there's pros and cons there. There's a lot of cons, of course.
A lot of cons. We don't make any moves this summer.
We don't. Yeah, right. Like, how do we attract top talent? I think if we do end up out of Europe, I do think that Harry Kane will probably be gone if there is a suitor that has the money and if things line up. But it's going to be tough because it all depends on the manager. Let's be real. It all depends on who we bring in. We can't make a decision, or we can't even predict on the players that we're going to be bringing in or the players that are going to be phased out if we don't know who the manager is. So maybe it was a bit unfair to ask you, does Dyer stay? Because frankly, we might bring in a manager who sees the value in what Dyer has and can see him grow in this club. I don't know who that would be, but yeah, I think it all just depends on the manager.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know how much he grows. I think this is basically what you get at this point with Eric Dyer. I'm not really sure how much more ceiling he has. I think peak Eric Dyer was the battle at the bridge, and then everything since has been. I mean, it wasn't good. It was just fun to see him shithouse everybody. But
it's funny that his peak is just like fighting people.
Yeah. Okay.
No, dude. Peak Eric Dyer was rushing the stands.
Oh yeah, because somebody was arguing with his brother.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah.
That was the best. That was the most aggressive and proactive I've seen.
I've never seen him move so quick as when.
Oh my lord! Sprinted over.
Imagine if we should put his brother.
Right, we should make sure that his brother gets bullied on the pitch,
and then he'd be running around like a madman. He'd be defending all the time. We should make his brother the other center back. Yeah.
There you go.
So Richard Dyer, if you're listening, get a kid. I don't know. If
oh my God, you know his name?
No, of course not.
Oh, okay.
I actually have met Harry Kane's brother though. We're all part of the supporters bar pre-COVID at Flannery's. Shout out.
Right on. Flannery's. Gary Kane?
What?
Is his name Gary? Gary Kane?
Gary Kane would be fantastic. No, but he actually looks just like him, and he was in New York, and he was looking for a place to watch, so the New York supporters group invited him over to watch with us, and he did, and that was really cool. But
that's dope.
Yeah.
Charlie. Wow, not far off, and he looks literally exactly like him.
Yeah. They're very, very similar. So that was fun. But moving on to Kane, I don't know. I think there's a lot of speculation as to whether or not he stays or he goes. The Athletic says he definitely desperately wants to get out. I don't know. I mean, he's said other things. We have him until 2024. I think if Daniel Levy does let him go, it'll be for an insane fee. If he lets him go at all, I think we're in the driver's seat. Obviously, you don't want to have an unhappy Harry Kane, but you also have to think about the state of the club. And I think you're right. I think if we miss out on Europe completely, what are we playing for next season? Maybe they look at it as a bit of a rebuild. I don't think that's what Daniel Levy wants. I think what Daniel Levy wants is bring in a top manager, somebody really, really good who can take the talent that we currently have, reorganize it, because it wasn't too long ago that we were actually a well-oiled machine, and get that feeling back. We'll see. I mean, there's really no way to know. I think it's hard to predict after a match like this, where we were just so utterly manhandled and fell to tactical brilliance, where we had no answer and we looked like a lost, League One team. But that aside,
with a harsh take, man. Jeez.
Well, I mean, it was like 11 individuals doing their own thing against a really, really well organized side that Bielsa
Can I make a quick point about that?
Sure.
It's quite telling that I think we both feel the same way about this, in the sense that we lost, we didn't look good, and yet I don't feel as miserable as I did watching this team play under Mourinho.
Yeah,
and I think
exactly.
There's a couple of reasons for that. One, expectations are completely different. This is Ryan Mason. This is third or fourth professional game, right? So you Spurs fans, you really need to just resign yourself, I think, to even though I just said I think we're going to win out, I really do think we're going to win out. But you do have to resign yourself to like these disappointments for the rest of the season. Like that's just what might happen, you know.
I love that you think we're going to win out, but also miss Europe.
So here's the thing: I do think that we're going to win out, but with Liverpool's form and with Liverpool having the schedule that they have, not to mention two games in hand, I just think they're going to make up the point. So, but that's besides the point. It is like a nice feeling I do look forward to the summer. I am excited for the summer, even if Harry Kane leaves, because I do think it's going to be like a watershed moment for this club, whoever they bring in for as next manager. Because think about it, if Kane stays, I mean, we keep a phenomenal player, the best player that has played in this shirt for, decades, right?
Yep.
If Kane leaves, yeah, it is really sad. But it also provides Tottenham with an opportunity to really, I mean, God, I just hope that if 85% of that is reinvested well into the squad and into additions, Jesus, man, like that is the squad refresh, that painful rebuild that Pochettino spoke about literally 2 years ago. We can finally have that because it's going to go, if Kane leaves, he's going to go for a vast number, like at least 100 million. I don't know who can pay that right now. Maybe that's just another discussion.
Oh, it's way more than that.
But think about what we can do with that money in the current market where it's a buyer's market.
You trust Levy with $120 million?
Well, that's exactly the thing. Like that's why I said if 85% of that investment works out, reinvesting into the squad. Okay, if 85% of the players that we bring in work out and they are good. Like I know that this is like very lofty.
After the episode of Soldado, Paulinho, I'll throw Lamella in there too. Why not?
But that's different though. I mean, there's a completely like different like scouting structure now. Hitchin is there now. So I do think that it's a bit unfair to say, well, it didn't work out last time. Why would it work out this time? That has no bearing into the success that we might see because we have to rebuild anyway, man. You really do.
Yeah.
So I understand like the hesitancy of, how do we replace Harry Kane with 7 or 6 more players? Well, we're going to have to do it anyway.
No, we need to replace the squad with 2 players.
No. What I'm saying is that like with other players that should be leaving, as in Sissoko, Winks, etc., we're going to have to bring in players regardless, right?
Yeah, I think the most telling thing will be is what happens to Gareth Bale as soon as the season ends. That'll tell you the direction of the club.
Do you want him to stay?
Honestly, it's hard for me to say. Well, because again, it depends on what the plan is, and I think that's the problem. We don't know what the plan is. If the plan is like let's get somebody to work with what we have now, do I think he's a great option up front? And we're not really in. If the name of the game is to not invest more than we're currently investing, I wouldn't hate it. I think he's great. I think his what he's done when he's played, save today, has been really impressive. I think he's got more goals per minute than anybody else, and he's already had more contributions than Lamella in 4 years, which we talked about earlier. So but if what you're saying is, well, we need to completely reinvest, rebuild, and go from there, no, of course he doesn't stay. Why would he? That would be throwing money away, taking away chances from other people. Listen, and don't forget, we still have Sessegnon coming back, right? And he's looked really good. We
got Skip as well, even though he's going through injury and surgery.
That are basically Bergwijn, he's still around. Don't forget, he's only 22, 23. I mean, the youth of this team, the talent of this team hasn't gone away, and I would rather see, if there is a rebuild, I would rather see that be the focus than us giving more money to Gareth Bale, even if he reduces his wage by a half, 50%.
Which he won't.
Which he won't. I mean, people said, oh, he's willing to. You can see these bogus reports all the time. He's not going to. He really won't. At the end of the day, for him, it's almost a business. As much as he
Oh,
likes
for
it
sure.
here, you know?
John, would you take a 50% pay cut to do exactly what you're doing right now?
I don't know. It depends how much I loved what I was doing and where I was at. Honestly,
Nah.
no.
I don't
See,
think
but
so, man.
it's not a fair comparison because we're like working people. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Like even if it's like a company that you absolutely love, right? I think like once you're making that amount of money,
yeah, but
it's very, very difficult.
Andres, what is half of stupid money?
Stupid money.
It's usually still stupid money. Like,
yeah.
So like,
but you're thinking of the mindset of the 9 to 5 worker, right? Which is my mindset as well.
I'm a man of the people.
No, hey, no, I love it and I believe it and I'm here for it, right? But what I'm saying is that for these people that are not men of the people, the very top of earners, they don't think that way. Yeah. They just don't. Like stupid money is not stupid money. Stupid money is the difference between a small boat and a yacht, right? Like that's how these guys think. So, not to mention, like, does he love Spurs so much that he would take a 50% pay cut?
No, I don't think he does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think it depends on what the opportunity is, but I still think the future of this club is going to be dependent on the young talent that we have now and who we purchase over the summer. We do need to get rid of Winks. We need to get rid of Lamella. We need to get rid of Doherty. I think we need to get rid of, or maybe not get rid of, but we definitely need to bring on new defenders. We need a new pairing. You know, I think we're still clinging to the Vertonghen, Alderweireld of 15 through 18, and that's just not who we are anymore.
Sounds like you want a new team, man.
I mean, yeah, in a weird way. I want to keep like the good stuff.
yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you.
We've been relying on these same players, and and it's crazy. We brought in Ndombele, and all of a sudden, he stops playing. We brought in GLC. He gets hurt and hasn't really been healthy for 8 months, so he's still trying to catch up. We brought in Doherty, who's been kind of a non-factor, and everybody was pissed. I actually think he was still suffering from like post-COVID issues. But there was nobody we've brought on so far has had the ability. Yes, we bought people, but nobody's had the unique ability to change the direction of this club. It's only been exacerbated. Now, if you want to blame Mourinho, if you want to blame Enoch, if you want to blame Levy, feel free. But
let's stop there because I do think that's a bit unfair. I don't think a single player. It's very hard for a single player to change the trajectory of an entire club, right? I do think that Højbjerg, when he came on in the first half of the season, very much changed the trajectory of how we played on the pitch. For sure, right? And Ndombele was getting there as well, and I think some might argue did get there where, instead of changing the trajectory of the club, can change the trajectory of how a game goes and how a game plays, right? Again, Højbjerg did that for the defense, and I do think that Ndombele has done that moving forward. But ever since the turn of the year, so ever since 2021 started, both have kind of faded, and it's become literally just solely Harry Kane that can truly dictate reliably and consistently how a game goes.
So why hasn't the culture changed? Why does it feel
Oh, my brother, that is such a massive question, and that's truly the crux of it, right?
Like, no matter, even when we finally got money and funds to change like a little bit of the shape of the team and the scope and add a little bit more, structure, which was what Højbjerg was supposed to do and what Ndombele was supposed to do, and to a point we haven't gotten better. The culture seems to be, and the feeling around the club seems to be, if not the same, maybe a little bit worse. And how do you change that? How do you shift that mindset to saying, well, now we're going to go to a winning personality? Look, you're not going to make any of the European competitions. You may not make Europa. You've lost FA league competitions, but how do you change that culture? Is it one player at a time? Is it?
This is a question that CEOs and heads of business groups ask themselves all the time, right? Because culture is such a nebulous concept. Like there's no tangible thing, right? But everyone still feels it, right? And I truly believe that teams, specifically in football, go through cycles. We went through the cycle with Pochettino where we hit our peak and then the culture just kind of faded, right? We even went through a mini cycle with Mourinho where we hit our peak,
December,
right? We were very good, right? And then it collapsed almost immediately because there was no solid foundation there. So if we are able to answer this question, John, in the live YouTube stream, we will be hired by we will be hired by consulting. But I do think I think that's a bit of a cop out though. So let me share my thoughts on that though. I do think what builds culture? Well, it's the people. It's the people that build culture, and it's not just about getting a winning quote unquote mentality. Like we have winners in the squad that have won a ton of individual awards and some even team awards, right? With obviously Lloris with the World Cup winner, right?
Sure.
But that's just not enough, and I do think that having so many players that have been here that went through the disappointment of the Champions League, giving everything that they have for a manager that demanded that of them, I would imagine that still it's just maybe that was our peak. Maybe that was, and that's why I think these players who are massive influences in the club, but are just not up to scratch anymore. Mainly Musa Sissoko. I don't mean to be hard. I never want to be
Sissoko, yep.
I never want to go in on a player too much because these are very real human people, right? And there's a lot of dynamics that go into it. And I don't want to oversimplify things ever. But I mean, again, that's just simply put, he isn't good enough for Spurs. He was at the time when he was starting, but he doesn't have that, and he still maintains that leadership quality in the locker room. So maybe it's time to start changing those leaders. And the crux of the question becomes: is it time to change Harry Kane and just transform the team as it is right now? Have we moved past the Harry Kane cycle? This man is he had his best season for Spurs this season, and I'm sorry, but we've had a terrible season. I want to see this man succeed. And if that's not at Spurs, I can't blame him for it.
No.
I really can't.
I was happy to see Poch and PSG, winning, and I was sad they didn't get there. But, I mean, same with HK. I'd be fine, not fine. Obviously, I'd be devastated, but I'd be happy to see him move on and win something as long as it wasn't with another English club. I think that would be...
for sure.
That would be the worst. And as Americans to say that,
I don't think Levy's going to let that happen.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I mean, look, we had a winning mentality. We had basically people would say you change culture by starting to win, and you build a winning mentality. And I truly thought going into December where we were top of the league, everything was going. We were in so many different competitions. We were looking strong. We weren't just beating people. We were beating people with style, especially with Kane and Son and what they were doing together in tandem. I honestly thought, I'm oh man, a lot of people had a lot of Mourinho criticisms when he first got hired, but I mean, I was buying in. I was amped, and then just to see the complete and utter collapse of where we were at to where we are, now, or let's flash back to bouncing out of Europa League or whatever that match was for you. It's culture, it's a mindset, and I don't know. I think again, not to keep going back to the All or Nothing documentary, but do you remember when it was one of the first team meetings with Mourinho? Harry Kane, he said, we always seem to get to the line, but then we just keep falling apart. It's inexplicable. He literally says, I just don't understand it. And I don't think that's changed for him. I think he seriously just still doesn't understand why this keeps happening. And I'm with Harry. I don't understand how this keeps happening. Because sometimes you'll change the scenery, change the people around you, but the result remains the same. So, I don't know. I think you're right. That's the $1 million... or maybe the $150 million question. How do you fix it?
Man, I think it just goes back down to that cycle,
You think a cup breaks it? You think one cup? Any cup?
I don't think something like the Carabao Cup. No, I don't think that fixes it. But certainly helps. Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I do think that again this summer is going to be a big watershed moment for Spurs. I was just looking at the schedule for Serie A because I was looking at when Roma is going to play. Because I do think that Mourinho might do better in Serie A going back to Italy.
Yeah.
Than what he was doing here.
It's more speed, more style. He'll do a lot better there than he did here, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a better project for him to take over as well.
I am excited, man. I am excited for. It's weird to say after a loss. I haven't felt this way in a long time, but I am excited for what the future holds because, like you said, there's a young class of Spurs footballers that have yet to hit their potential.
Yeah.
And it is exciting to know that no matter what, whether Kane stays or leaves, Spurs are going to be entering another cycle, another stage of the club lifespan, if you will, when they bring in this new manager. And it is very telling. And I understand that, like Pochettino, I do think that he should have been backed. I don't want to live in the past, whatever, but it is very telling that Spurs reportedly are looking for a manager that looks exactly like Pochettino.
Yeah.
Literally has everything that Pochettino did, right? Like young, plays attacking football, plays high pressing football, brings in the youth through the ranks, et cetera, et cetera. And I get it. Like, two people are two different people, right? Like, you can't, just because Pochettino has all of those things doesn't mean that he should immediately come back, right? But it's just wild that the pendulum has swung the other way after this Mourinho debacle, if you will.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, I think we unpacked everything we could unpack. Do you feel better? I don't feel better. I mean, I don't feel bad.
I don't feel bad, but I don't feel better. No, it's just, it is what it is. We'll see.
Whatever. I enjoy commiserating with you every week.
I want to see some good attacking football the next 3 games, man. Like, these are teams that we should, apart from maybe Leicester due to their form, we should be beating these teams.
Keep starting Dele.
Keep starting Dele. Maybe play around with that Gio/Tanguy situation. Would love to see more Berg.
Yeah.
Love to see more Berg. Absolutely.
And, I think Lucas deserves a start at some point.
Yeah. Just make use of the squad that you have. You know, you don't have to change the entire starting 11. I don't think, but
he has a directive from Levy though that I'm pretty sure Bale has to start every game. I'm pretty sure that's part of the.
Are you joking or?
I'm not joking. I'm pretty sure Daniel Levy says.
You're dead serious.
I'm serious. I think he has to start. Not that he has to, but he has to in the sense that Daniel Levy's saying you need to start Bale every match. This is what we brought him here for, and I think that was a lot of the contention between Levy and Mourinho was over the Bale situation. And I think one of the things, if you think Ryan Mason is running the ship by himself, you're out of his mind. It's definitely Levy telling him what he needs to do.
Wait, how hilarious would it be though if Ryan Mason was taking the elevator to the top floor of whatever freaking building they're in, and he goes into Dan Levy's office and he's like, "All right, this is what I'm going to do for the game, and you're just going to have to suck it up,"
Yeah, well, and then
there's a new sheriff in town, baby.
Yeah, then zero chance.
Dude, okay, I got no problem with Bale starting if we're gonna have possession. I think it's very, very clear that he is at his best when we have possession.
I think the idea is for us to have possession. I just think they just failed at executing us.
But okay, fair enough. But then if we fail to execute the first 45, take them off.
Make a change. I know. That's true.
Right?
A lot of people were saying there was this one, and I don't agree with this comment, but I did laugh when I read it. Someone said in one of the tweets, they said, "Can someone check to see if Ryan Mason still has a concussion?" And it's a terrible thing to say.
Oh, that's actually pretty good though.
It was funny because right after the substitutions, and I don't know. Look, he's gonna make these kind of mistakes, and he's gonna have this type of even if it's not a mistake, he's gonna have that type of outlook. But we'll see. But I do think Daniel Levy still has a major influence on what the 11 is, and I think Gareth Bale will continue to be part of it, whether Mason wants that or not. I'd be surprised.
I truly hope that, if we rip into Mason, we as a Tottenham fan base, I truly hope that it's like all in quote unquote good fun.
Yeah, no,
Right?
it's
Like,
all loving.
I really do think that like we cannot expect anything out of him, and it'd be really harsh of us to just pile onto him for any mistake, right? Like this man has never managed before,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't think we killed him today. I think we mostly...
No, for sure. I meant more so because you're more in tune with like social media reaction than I am, right? And I just think it'd be a freaking waste to start like going on about like, you should have done this, you should have done that, like get him out of the club, whatever. Like I'm not a Masonista, right? Like I'm not, you know, a diehard Mason fan. But like he's a young guy, and like he surely, just like Pochettino, he has enough credit in the bank with Spurs, given his history, that regardless of how the season ends, we can still like wish him the best in his next project and understand that, you know, he was thrown into the deep end here, you know?
Yeah. I look. Yes, if you want to talk about credit, I don't know how much credit he truly has, other than, you know, his tragic end to his playing career. I mean, if you take that away, he's got as much credit running this club as Andres Townsend. But no, 100%. You're right. But he's done a great job with their U team and the under 18s, and I'm glad he's getting this opportunity. I think it's awesome. But no, this summer doesn't come around where he takes over this job. You know, again, I think maybe a League One or a Championship side project is what his calling is right now. Do you think
there's any chance that he stays on? That Levy asks him to stay on?
No, because
chance.
That would mean Levy's managing the team, and I don't even want to think about it. But
right. But
no, I don't think
might Levy want that?
No. I don't think he's looking over at United going, "Oh, that's my Ole," or I don't think he's looking at previously at Chelsea going, "Oh, that's my Lampard." It's completely different, and I don't see that being the case here at all. I think this is exactly what it is. A fan service caretaking position, where he knows the fans will be behind it. He knows because people know the love for Ryan Mason. So that's all this is. It's a Band-Aid until we get something real. And the more and more I watch Spurs, the more and more I want somebody with like 20 effing years of experience in managing clubs.
Bro, we had that in Mourinho.
I know, but Mourinho's style just completely went against our strengths at times. So I don't. Yeah. Again, I mean, I like the idea of Allegri. I like the idea of Sarri, even just for the sake that we may be able to have some kind of shape in our midfield.
Wait a minute. You like the idea of Sarri? Wow, this is the first time I hear this.
I don't. Actually, and who I'd really like would be Graham Potter, but I don't know. I don't know that he's.
I think I still haven't done my research on Potter. I would love to learn more about it. I might actually do it right now after we get off. But, dude, I really like Galtier, man. I really do. I think just the fact that he's Liga it's just not gonna do it for Levy. But
read Alistair Gold's manager roundup. He kind of gives you an idea of who's really being talked about and who's not.
Did he do one? He did one earlier this week.
Yeah, like Thursday, I think, Wednesday or Thursday, and he basically put in like, it was almost like a pretenders contenders type of article. Okay, it was interesting. I can't get through the cesspool that is football.london as a website.
It is pretty trash.
It's pretty brutal, but I got a pretty good idea from reading the comments and getting some quick news. But all right,
can I just briefly share something?
Sure. What do you got?
Just like you can see my screen.
Yeah.
All right, just like very briefly. Whoa, sorry guys.
Gigabyte.
What is this? Look at this.
I know.
Oh my god. It's trash. Man.
Yeah. And
all right. Anyway,
that's when it doesn't actually have a giant advertisement that kicks you off the page, and then you have to go back and refresh the whole thing and find out.
Don't worry. I'm if I scroll like 3% more, I'm gonna get there.
We're not promoting SB Nation over football.london, but
no, we're not.
Really difficult because we have advertisement issues too. But God, man, I love Alistair, but it makes it hard to follow that content sometimes. Any last thoughts, Andres, before we wrap up?
I am excited for this Chelsea-Manchester City match.
I am excited for our first live stream. I thought this was fun, and we
actually was fun.
We had a few people watching, which was cool. We didn't get any questions.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe next time.
For sure.
Right. Yes, sir.
All right, maybe we could do it again next week after the match.
Yeah. Let's make this a thing. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Right on.
All right. Well, from Audrey,
cheers, brother,
John, and from On the Break at Carlos Free Captain. Everybody enjoy your week. We'll catch you next time.